You guys about ready for our first speaker? Let's do it. So this is Kate Crumley. She is a vet, owner of Heartwood Animal Hospital. She also has done a couple of pachacachas before with her organization, the American Animal Hospital Association. Tonight, she's going to give us a presentation. The theme is No Problem. That's the title of our talk, No Problem. This might be edutainment, so we're going to have some fun while we possibly learn something. She's looking forward to seeing Santa, as well as her daughter, who thinks she's super cool. We'll be the judge of that tonight. Everybody, a round of applause for Kate Crumley.
All right. Who wants to know a secret? All right. Our culture, the cultural norm these days is to express all kinds of positive intent, but we use negative words to do it. And the secret is if you shift things by the way you present them just a little bit, then you can have greater influence over your friends and your family. It means you got to use some subliminal stuff. You've got to use your brain. You've got to realize that what our brain latches onto and remembers are action words and images. And we don't pay attention to modifiers, little modifiers like no and not. So I want you to do a thought experiment. I've got a dog and a cat up here. Close your eyes for a second. Whatever you do, don't imagine the dog chasing the cat. All right, open your eyes. I bet most of you, even for a second, couldn't help but see the dog chase the cat, okay? And that's because your brain just went right past that don't and went on to what the action words were and what the images were. Another example, it used to be when people said thank you, the polite response was you're welcome. These days, we say no problem. We take a very positive meaning and we use two negative words to explain that. And it's just, well, it used to say problem, now it's problem, but anyway. When you go to the store, if you have an issue and you're explaining it to the clerk, eventually you might get it resolved to the point that the young man says, no problem. But his tone, his body language, what he's thinking is probably focused on the problem part. So you'd think also that the politicians would get a hand of this and have this all figured out since they are spin masters. But how do you think this worked for former President Nixon? You know, what do we remember about him? You know, remember the statement, but what's the word that sticks in your mind when you think of President Nixon? So, yeah, right, exactly. So that's just examples. And this is, in my day job, I'm a veterinarian, and so I wanted to share some examples because I use this every day when I'm talking with my clients. I want them to understand what understand what their pets are experiencing and what we can do about it, all right? And I see young doctors phrase things maybe a little bit differently. You listen to a dog's heart. There are a lot of things we're listening for. We're listening for the rate and the rhythm, and we're listening for the sounds. We're listening for that ba-dump, 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 that nice normal sound. Or sometimes we hear an abnormal sound. We hear a murmur, and that's bzz, bzz, bzz. If you hear a murmur, there's some heart disease there, and it needs to be addressed. And there are a lot of things we can do about it. So when the doctor's listening, and they hear murmur, you know what, the client's sitting on the other edge going, what in the world is she hearing? If I'm a newbie doctor, I might say, oh, I don't hear a murmur. Guess what? You're going to focus on. You heard the word murmur. You're thinking disease, heart failure, oh my gosh. So turn that around. And what I try to tell folks is, hey, the ticker sounds really good. We got a healthy heart here. Let's move on and do the next thing. By focusing on healthy instead of saying there's not a bad thing, people leave with a much more positive impression. So this actually also translates, this is what I want the family to remember, because when they go home, I want them to have a nice positive impression. I want them to share with their friends, with their family, what the dog actually had, and not, oh, doctor said something about a murmur. So I want them to remember what I actually say about their pet so that the pet gets the right care. We also do this with our dogs, sometimes to our cats too. Dogs understand, they don't do the psychology thing, but they know bad. They know what a bad dog is. They know when they're a good dog. But when they come to the hospital and somebody's trying to reassure them, they're going, it's not so bad. It's not so bad. And the dog is hearing, bad, bad. Guess what? Vet means bad, all right? So if you're kind of aware of this now, just be careful. You're going to see it everywhere you look. You're going to hopefully practice it. And I'm going to caution you to please practice it, but try not to pitch it over and over to your friends, or they're going to think you had a diploma from the word police, and it becomes pretty obnoxious. So watch for it. It's everywhere. This is my favorite pet peeve. Don't forget. Everybody says don't forget. Oh, it's a sitcom situation. You got mom wagging her finger. Don't forget the milk. Don't forget the milk. Guess what? The son hears. Your brain just skips past the don't. She's pretty much just told him, forget. Forget. So his brain goes, forget the milk. It's processed. It's left. And he gets home. And guess what the family's out of? Milk. So if you would like to not get yourselves in these same funny predicaments, you can improve your outcomes by thinking, use this one word, make this one simple change in your life. Eliminate, don't forget, replace it with remember. And you'll actually be using your brain on purpose. You're getting your friends to use their brains on purpose. Your chances, your odds of getting what you want just skyrocketed. So, this is the perfect time of year to practice this because everybody wants something. I know Jack does. So test it out for yourself. Remember to tell folks what you want. Because if you tell them I don't want a coffee maker, guess what they're going to remember when they go to the store shopping for you? Coffee maker is going to stick in their head, and guess what you're going to get? Talk to your sister. Maybe you're asking about what your nephew wants for Christmas. Now, if sister tells you Johnny wants a red, because he's an NC State fan, race car, well, the red car is going to be what's in your head when you go to the toy store. If she tells you, though, that he doesn't want a blue car for his new race car set, blue car is probably going to be what sticks, and you got, off and on chance that that's what you're going to think about when you're in the toy store shopping for Johnny. Now the next time you do a favor for somebody and they say, thank you, think about what you're going to say and put this to work for yourself. Instead of, no problem, you can always just say, you're welcome. You can say, anytime. You can say, sure. You can say, gotcha. There are a lot of different options. You just have to be a little creative and buck the system a bit. And what I want you to realize is that your words are powerful. Words are powerful. Use them to your advantage. Use them and you can create your own memorable, magical moments by speaking, using positive words for your positive intent. Just stay positive.